And we're live.
How are you both doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing fine. Hopefully Dorien's doing fine as well.
I am great. I'm glad to be here. It's awesome.
I said morning, Tim, but I always forget it's actually evening for you, or late afternoon.
Afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in the UK. And I'm guessing it's like, is it 10 in the morning in Vermont?
Yes, it is. 10 o'clock. It's coffee time.
I have my coffee.
Right. So I put you down as a social media supremo on the advertising.
I saw that. I love it. I might feel that.
Because you do so many different social media related things.
I do.
How did you, let's ask a general question. How did you get started in social media? And when were you in marketing before? Or did you just think, oh, social media, I love this. I want to be a social media marketer?
I was completely the opposite. I did not like social media. I wasn't on social media. The catalyst for me becoming a social media marketer is that I have 4 children and the youngest one started kindergarten. So now I had 1 in middle school, 3 in elementary school, and I had 7 hours a day. And previous to that, being a stay-at-home mom, I had been a nanny and an au pair before that. So I'd never worked in corporate, never, owned a business, never really had a different job than being at home with kids. And now I was at home alone and my kids were at school 7 hours a day. So my husband has owned his business forever. And when he had gotten his MBA, marketing was very different. So he's like, hey, things are changing. You want to check out Twitter and maybe help me a little bit. And so I took an online course, was called Let's Get Social, and learned, I actually made a Facebook account because of that and started dabbling in social media. And then I said to my husband, I want to start my own business. He's like, all right, go ahead. So I literally was I started teaching locally. I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I started teaching business owners on how to do social media. And I was literally like 2 weeks ahead of them. I would learn something and then teach it to them and learn something and teach it to them. But I've been a teacher forever, right? As a mom, as a nanny, you're always teaching. So I kind of rolled into it that way. So I started out being a local specialist. I got my big break when a local charity who had no social media asked me to help them pro bono, but gave me the title as social media director, which once I put that on LinkedIn, I got lots of people coming to me, hey, you're social media director for so-and-so charity. Can you help me? So that really helped me. And then I went to B2B. I was able to work with an agency, got a couple of bigger accounts, out-of-state accounts. And then the next catalyst was going to social media marketing world in 2015, 17, 19, and meeting more people and starting different collaboration and relationships. And so now I've really pivoted into a community management and organic social media. I'm really by heart a true content creator. I'm a blogger. I love graphic design, but I really like writing. So the content piece is really where I shine. So organic social media, crafting beautiful images and text to go with it and having conversations. As you could tell maybe already, I really like to talk. So community management really works for somebody like me. Plus, I really feel as a community manager, having life experience and being a mom, or being a parent, I should say, really has helped me be a good community manager because you have to constantly read between the lines. People say one thing, but they really mean another. They ask this question, but they really want to know this. And so it was a perfect fit. So I've been a community manager for over 3 years, really doing strategy and organic social media now.
I love how you rolled from being a mom and a nanny into social media, because that's not this particular job, but it's so common for moms. Their kids grow up. They now need to find work, or they have time to find work, and you were able to move into social media. What is it like now? I mean, I imagine your kids are a little bit older. They're older.
Well, it's been over 10 years. So my youngest, who started kindergarten, is now a rising junior in high school. One child's already graduated college. Another one's set to graduate. And so, they're three of the oldest kids are out of the house. It's very different than where I was 10 years ago, right? So I used to have to scale back my schedule summers because I had 4 kids at home. Now I can, and I had local clients. So now moving from South Carolina to Vermont about 18 months ago, went 100% remote. It was right before the lockdown. So it actually worked out perfect. So all of my clients now are, not in the state of Vermont, which is nice because all of the meetings, everything is online. And since there's no travel, I've really actually been able to concentrate on business growth for the last little bit. But yeah, having been in business for 10 years and seen a lot of changes. One of the things that I want to point out is that I feel super fortunate to have happened upon social media when I did over 10 years ago. I see people trying to get into this field now. It's really rough. It's really tough. But I have all this experience and I have all the connections. That network that I created 10, 8, 7 years ago of going out and meeting people in real life has really helped me grow my business, because it's at some point it becomes not what you know, but who you know. And I'm really at that point, I'm continuing education for sure, but it's the relationships I've built in the last 10 years that are really helping me grow. And then the other piece to that is I've chosen to remain a freelancer. I've chosen not, I always said I have an agency at home. I have 4 kids, 4 dogs, husband. I run marathons. Like, I don't need to manage an agency. I don't want to manage people. So in 10 years, I am still a freelancer. I'm still on my own, but I've been able to scale to the point where I'm very comfortable and very happy where I am. So it's really cool.
Are you international? Do you have international clients?
Yes. Yep. And an international speaker too. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
You use that. I suppose there might be people who watch the replay or watching live who are like, organic social media, is that some sort of hippie thing where they don't use any artificial fertilizer in the making of the social media?
Sort of.
Can you explain what organic social media is?
Absolutely.
And why you're good at it?
Sure. So organic, kind of what you said, no artificial anything. There's no paid media behind it, right? So you're not boosting your posts. You're not running ads. You're doing the organic part. Now, what I have realized by specializing in organic social media, which means just posting to Facebook, to Pinterest, to Twitter, Instagram without boosting anything, is that when you work together with paid media, the organic works better. And my friends who are doing paid media, so paid social media, they discovered a couple of years ago that partnering with somebody like me helps their ads do better and hone in better. So I really have partnered with Facebook ad agencies, and they hire me as a freelancer for some of their clients to do that organic bit. Because what happens is, say you're a Facebook ad agency and all you're doing is running ads. A lot of them are dark posts, right? They're not visible. So if then somebody were to go to your Facebook page and there's nothing there, there's no engagement, there's no community, there's no questions being answered, there's no customer service, people are like, that's a fake company. But if I'm there as the organic specialist who are either answering questions on the ads, or I'm having, I do quotes, or I have a fun video and I'm there and I'm engaging, then those people who have liked the ads, they're now becoming part of that community. So it boosts both. But the organic part is where, there's no artificial anything. It's a real person posting real posts and having an engagement, talking on the page, talking on social media with real people.
Yeah.
Tim, we both breathe.
No. It's your turn question, Mara, I think.
Community manager. Tell us what that is. What does that mean?
Community management is when you, as a paid community manager, I'm in charge of a community that belongs to a brand, to a business. So one of my clients, I'm happy to mention who they are. They're called Social Media Pro. We teach the business of social media management. And so we sell online classes. But what we have is a community, a Facebook group of nearly 50,000 people interested in social media management. And I run that community. So I make sure that the spammers get booted or don't even get in. I vet all the members when they come in. We have engagement posts. We do polls. We educate people. And so we have that conversation around social media management. Now, as a content manager, these communities are wonderful. So it's a give and a take, right? So we give our members an opportunity to meet other people like them, to ask the questions. A lot of them are freelancers like I am, so they don't have a team. So they come to this community and that's their team. But as a brand, it's great for research, right? And to get people from that community into our VIP and our paid student community. So as a community manager, I do all aspects. I am in charge of the moderator team, in charge of the rules, letting people in, like I said, spam management, reputation management, all of those pieces go together. And we do education, we do videos in there, and you can do partnerships with brands, right? They can come in and do webinars. So there's a whole range of things that go with community management.
Did you get into community management immediately? Was that something you from
No.
the beginning? Okay.
No, about 7 years into my career as a social media manager. And I have to say that I don't think I would have been ready for it.
Okay.
I think you definitely need to understand social media, and you need to understand where it fits into the strategy for the brand. I do think most brands could benefit from having an online community, because that's where you have that piece of retention. Right? Yeah. Because it's really, once you, and especially for the smaller group that we have for our students, a lot of people concentrate and throw a lot of money at getting new members or selling a product. They forget that it's much cheaper to upsell a second product or a third product to people already love and like your brand. That's called retention marketing. So having a community as a brand is really, really important, and actually going to save you a ton of money, because you can retarget your existing customers and keep them really happy.
Yeah. I think you touched on community, and the importance of that is something often, whether it's nonprofit or business, that we overlook, the importance of building a community. And that's exactly what a community manager can do, I think. And have you noticed it's changed in the past 7 years?
Oh, it's changed a ton. And even in the last 3.5 years, community management has changed to the point where Facebook, during the last Super Bowl, they were running ads on Facebook groups, join a group, start a group. And Facebook came out with a community management certification, just like the Facebook blueprint. They now have a community management certification. So they're serious about it. They understand it. So they're putting a lot of their effort and resources towards creating qualified and skilled community managers. And I believe that. I think the future of social media is private, which is really funny to say, but it all happens in DMs, in groups, in messages. That's where the relationship are built, not out in the open. When I need something, or I want to ask a question of Tim, who's my friend, I'm not going to go on his Facebook wall. I'm going to go to Messenger and ask him the question, right? That's where that happens. And the same happens in groups. You really get to know people, and you really get to know your community, and they get to know you. It's a way for a brand to show their vulnerability, show the humans behind the brand. So that's only going to grow. That's where a lot of this is going to shift to. And you can see that with the, rise in WhatsApp in the US. WhatsApp was big in Europe already for a lot of years. My family's in the Netherlands, and we've been using WhatsApp for 10, 15 years. Yeah. But here, it only started getting popular since Facebook bought it. But more and more messenger apps are being used now. And I think people are realizing that's really where people are. They want to have that one-on-one communication.
All right, so I'm going to change subject-wise a little bit. Let's talk about the human behind the brand. And you grew up in the Netherlands, did you? I have to be careful not to call it Holland, because
it's
funny because I thought that Holland was like the continental bit of thing, and the Netherlands was for all the outside territories. But there's a North and a South Holland in the Netherlands, and then there are other regions. And I'm like,
yes, we have
so
a
it's
bunch
bit like
of provinces.
England and the UK.
Yes, exactly. It's like that. We have a lot of provinces, and 2 of them are called North Holland and South Holland. They just happen to be where all the big cities are. So Amsterdam's in North Holland, Rotterdam is in South Holland. So when people used to, migrate in the 50s and they didn't speak English very well, they would say, I'm from Holland, right? Instead of from the Netherlands. But the country is called the Netherlands. And so, that's a little bit of education. But I grew up there. I moved when I was 18. I finished high school, and I'm big adventure to the US as an au pair, and met my husband and stayed.
That's fascinating. Okay, so I learned something new just now. I've always said Holland.
I think probably loads. The viewer count shot up as soon as I mentioned Holland. So.
Well, here's the other interesting bit to that. In certain languages, like Spanish, it's translated to Hollandia. I think that's the official name in Spanish of our country. So certain countries translated like that. I remember being in Argentina, but I lived in the US for like 8 years, and so I was there with my husband and my first baby, and I was speaking Dutch to my baby, and they're like, where are you from? That's not English. I'm like, I'm from Holland. And they're like, oh, Hollandia. So it depends on where, what language you speak. It does get translated like that. But I don't know where Dutch comes from, because the people from the Netherlands are called Dutch, but people confuse us with Danish, who are from Denmark, or Deutsch, which is German. I don't know where the English language got all these crazy things, but the country is the Netherlands, and we are Dutch.
What was the biggest culture shock moving from the Netherlands to the United States? And have you noticed, like I've noticed on my trips across the US, like the differences? Because you've been in different areas in the US as well. You've been in South Carolina and Vermont, at least from our discussions, I know. So what was the biggest thing you noticed that's different?
The biggest thing that I initially noticed when I was 18, when I moved here, was food. I grew up on meat and potatoes and vegetables. And in the Netherlands, I don't know if I was in the UK, but the meal, when you say, what are we having for dinner? You mentioned a vegetable. So I would come home from school. What are we having for dinner? My mom would say Brussels sprouts or kale or spinach. In this country, what are you having for dinner? It's we're having chicken, or we're having steak. That's the main part of the meal. So it was a very big switch on food. Now, that also means I had never eaten pizza. I'd never had any food from a different culture because of the family I grew up in. So I never had pizza, never had Thai, Indian, Chinese food, none of that. It was available in the Netherlands, but just my family didn't go out to eat. And so that was really hard for me. I basically, for 3 weeks, didn't eat much. And then I realized, well, I'm going to be here for a year. I better start trying, because I'm going to die. So I started eating it, and then I really liked it. And the funniest part is now I've been vegan for 6 years, so I don't even eat meat anymore. So it really changed, again, how I eat and what I eat again since then. But I think that was the biggest thing. I was so young at 18. I was very oblivious to a lot of things. I think it was very immature, even though I was mature enough to move here by myself when I was 18. But I think very much with blinders on, came to this country very innocent. So kind of learned a lot of stuff here. I think one of the reasons I can blend in so well, people a lot of times don't know I'm an immigrant, is that I learned everything here. I got married very quickly after I moved here. My husband and I are actually celebrating our 32nd wedding anniversary tomorrow, and we got married at a bus stop, believe it or not. We met at a bus stop, got married at a bus stop. So I'm going to release a video tomorrow on Facebook, because my kids found the video and digitalized it, which is amazing, really funny. But I think because I'd never lived on my own, I moved from my parents' house, 18, moved in with the family as an au pair, and then got married. I don't have anything to compare it to. I never had my own household in the Netherlands. And I see that with a lot of immigrants. A lot of the culture is about washing machines that don't get their laundry clean, or I'm used to cooking this food and I can't find this ingredient. I have none of that. I have completely Americanized in all of those ways. I think one of the other parts that was harder when my kids started school It's just the school system is different.
Yeah.
And I really had to get used to that because I didn't have anything to compare it to. I had not gone to school here. So that was a little bit hard.
That's fascinating. In what ways is the school system different?
Here I found, well, first of all, in the Netherlands, the teaching method in the 70s and 80s when I grew up was very different. There was a lot of self-directive learning and reading. Also, the teaching style at that time was repetitive. So, for example, and this is fascinating because I went back to the Netherlands with my kids when they were elementary school for 4 months and put them in school. So they had the comparison, which is really cool. So, for example, my daughter is in first grade here. We go to the Netherlands for 4 months. She goes into second grade and she learns multiplication tables. That's how I learned them. You literally have an empty, notebook, and you're learning the multiplication tables by writing down 1 times 2 equals 2, 2 times 2 equals 4. You're writing out the whole thing. My children in the American school system never, ever had to write a single thing. They just had to fill in answers. There were worksheets for everything. So they would have the multiplication table and all they have to fill in was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You don't learn, you don't actually, it doesn't get into your brain when you're just answering that. But if you're having to write out 1 times 2 equals 2, 2 times 2 equals 4, several times, and you have a unit of 3 months, she learned all the multiplication table in second grade in the Netherlands, went back, had to go back to first grade in the US because that's just where she was. And she was like a whole year ahead. They ended up pushing her ahead, but it was just a different teaching system. And they still have it like that in the Netherlands where, this is what we're working on. This is the unit. Go write things, go do things. She learned cursive. It's just a different philosophy. But then they also let the kids be kids. No homework till like 7th grade, till middle school. No homework at all.
Yeah.
So the kids can be kids. They have a lot more freedom to ride their bikes everywhere. I mean, my 5th grader, when I took him to the Netherlands, he would ride to school for 5 miles on his own. He loved it. He would go to the store. He's like, I need money so I need like an allowance because I want to go to the store and buy candy. In the US, I would never let my 5th grader go to the store by himself with money and go buy on a bicycle. But in that country, the culture was it's just different. And so that really, those kind of comparisons. And then high school, the 3 oldest kids went through high school in the South. And a lot of the culture there is all the things you are not allowed to do, right? It's a Bible Belt. So you're not allowed to wear provocative clothes. You're not allowed to swear. You're not allowed to do this. It was always negative, not confirmation. What do you call it? Negative feedback. Yeah. And when we moved here, my youngest son started to Vermont. My youngest son started high school, and it's all open. Would you like to go have lunch outside? Go and have lunch outside. Would you like to do this research project? Come up with a plan and tell me about it. It's a very different attitude that teachers and adults have towards teenagers, more like Europe. So it's good. It's nice to see that variation. So it really, when people group, I feel, the whole US together, having lived in different places with kids, I can really see how different it is.
It is. Across our entire nation, it is very different. And like, I live in San Diego. From San Diego to the East Coast, to the South, and the North. I've lived in Minnesota, San Diego, of course, and then also Portland, Oregon. All 3 very, very different. And I have no experience with the South or where you live. So I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big differences.
Absolutely. And even what we eat and our accents.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, in the South, I wasn't just a Yankee. My husband's a Yankee. He was from Massachusetts, but I'm a foreigner. I'm like an immigrant. So that's was very different. Yeah. Yeah,
and we don't have that language here in San Diego. We don't say Yankee and what is the other?
Immigrant or I mean, just if you. Where I lived in South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach, there's a lot of people retired from the North. And if you're anywhere above Washington, D.C., you're a Yankee. You know, you're not from the South. So
I remember having a conversation with somebody, I think it was Louisiana, who was going on about Northerners all the time. And you don't realize, like, the whole, in a lot of the US, is obviously more the East, because there's still Civil War things around, which you wouldn't get in California, because it existed, but
we don't know what's happening over there.
So interesting. I'm not going to go into politics or religion, but let's just say those are other big cultural differences in these states. And
Well, I had a vague plan in my head for this interview to rescue us from controversy and go back to quickly onto social media. And I'm going to ask you if you. I'm not going to ask the normal question I ask people, because I've done that to death in the last few shows. But if you were like advising a small business, let's say Christelle was starting a small business. I'm not going to say what type, and she needed like to do organic social media. Say she couldn't afford advertising. What would you start with? Where do you start with your clients in terms of platforms and content? And what's your best advice for people starting out on social media? I start all of my clients with a social media strategic plan, just like you would have a business plan. So Christelle, I would assume you would have a business plan that you laid out, that you have a budget for marketing, that you have a name for your business and a target audience. But as a social media manager who would work with you, I need to know all those things. So we would start with a 90-minute questionnaire that I do with my clients. And I would ask those questions. Who do you want to serve? You know, what are your goals? That's actually the first one. Why do you want to be on social media? Because a lot of people come to me and say, well, so-and-so told me I need to be on Pinterest. I'm like, do you want to be on Pinterest? Well, I don't know. Well, maybe your target audience isn't there. Maybe your goals don't align with being on Pinterest. Why would you put money in hiring somebody to go on Pinterest? So a strategic plan will give you clarity on how to move forward. And by the time I put together a plan after having that questionnaire, and I do keyword research and hashtag research and an audit and all of those things, I write up a strategy, a 12-month plan. So phase 1 is usually 1 to 3 months, and then phase 2 is 3 to 6, and phase 3 is 6 to 12. So it would give you bite-sized things to do. The first 3 months, you'd want to set up all your accounts and get your bios the same, and your images and your style guide if you don't have it. You should have a mission and vision plan for your business, but all of those things need to be done first. And then we start putting some content out. But then the content plan comes from that social media strategic plan, depending on what your goals are and who do you want to reach. And even though I do organic, if it looks like your industry would benefit from paid ads, I would certainly put that in the plan and say we need to hire somebody to come in and run some ads and maybe do webinars. It really depends on what service or what product you have. You know, I know that often you can reach more people and quicker with paid. So that would also be written in the plan. But I really think that if you just start doing media without a plan, you can't measure. You can't measure from where you have to have a starting point. And that plan will be your line 0, and then you can see your growth, and you can see where you grow and how you grow and why you grow. And you can do more of the things that work and less of the things that you put in a bunch of work and didn't, you know, do anything, didn't really, you know, move the dial.
Yeah, absolutely. We are running out of time. So I want to ask you in the end, where can potential clients find you? Or if people just want to reach out and follow you, where can we find you in social media?
The place where it's happening for me right now is LinkedIn. So my name is pretty unique, Dorien Morin-van Dam. So when you see me with orange glasses and some tulips on my profile, you know it's me. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Just send me a note and say, hey, I saw you at another live show with Tim and Christelle. I would love that. And then my website is More in Media. It's a riff on my last name, Morin. So it's More in Media, giving you more in media. And so I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'm More in Media, but every single profile picture of me has the orange glasses, which is kind of a nod to my Dutch heritage. If you know anything about the Netherlands, you know that
Yeah.
Dutch national color is orange. So I always wear, you know, my orange proudly, like my shirt and my glasses. So connect with me on LinkedIn and anywhere else, really. I'm most active on LinkedIn, though.
That's fabulous. I actually have a goal to get to the Netherlands within the next year if travel opens and we can go without stopping for 14 days or whatever.
That would
You might
be,
even
yeah.
get to Holland as well. You know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Exactly.
I'm hoping to go. I haven't been in almost 3 years. I missed my mom's 75th birthday last year. And, yeah, I'm hoping to go, but I'm waiting till I don't have to take all those tests anymore. I'm vaccinated, but I don't want to go and spend $500 in tests to get there and come home. Plus, my siblings haven't been vaccinated yet, so I'm gonna wait until that's all done. But yeah, I have the same goal as you.
We're trying to get there. It's the Tulip Festival I want to get to. So,
well, it's happening right now. So if you're not going to go in the next few weeks, you'd have to do it. April's best. Go April next year.
I can't go now, but the goal is
next April. It's amazing. That's what I had on my agenda last year, and that got canceled. I was taking an American friend with me, and we were going to go to the Keukenhof and then my mom's birthday, and that didn't happen. So, but I'll be there before next April. I have to be there before next April.
I hope you get to go. Thank you so much for being here. It was so nice to meet you and chat with you and learn just so much about not only the Netherlands, but social media. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's so fun always.
Yep. Thanks for being on the show. And thanks for all the people who watched and all the people who watched the replay and everybody else.
Hi, Tim.
I've never worked out how to do the exit to these shows properly. So I'm just going to press the outro button and we'll go the outro and then we can talk after the credits thing when we're not live.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 7.
Cliche shit, you know.